Vikings consider bold trade for NFL star Jalen Ramsay could be the missing piece for Super Bowl. This offseason, the Minnesota Vikings may be preparing a move that would change the course of the franchise, and perhaps even the balance of power in the National Conference. According to recent projections, the Vikings are reportedly considering sending a second-day draft pick to the Miami Dolphins in exchange for veteran cornerback Jalen Ramsay, one of the NFL's most respected defenders over the past decade. The idea, at first glance, seems at odds with the philosophy adopted by Kwesi Adofo-Mensah since taking over as general manager in Minnesota. Known for his analytical and strategic profile, Adofo-Mensah has, until now, prioritized youth, salary flexibility, and the accumulation of draft picks as the foundations for building a competitive team in a sustainable way. But times may be changing, and with them, the Vikings' ambition. A scenario of transition and opportunity. The Vikings' once solid secondary has undergone a major overhaul this offseason. 3 of the 5 starters left the team in free agency, opening a critical hole in a unit that already struggled to contain the league's most potent passing attacks. The management's immediate response was to focus on the trenches. The team selected Donovan Jackson, a promising offensive guard from Ohio State, in the first round of the draft, and brought in reinforcements for both the offensive and defensive lines. However, the secondary remains a question mark, and that's where Jalen Ramsay's name comes up as a possible solution. Ramsay, a 7-time Pro Bowl selection and 3-time first-team All-Pro, is a generational talent at the cornerback position. Even though he's approaching 31 years old, he's still seen as an impact player capable of transforming an entire defense. The Dolphins and Ramsay have already made public their mutual intention to go their separate ways this offseason. The player's $72 million contract through 2028 is a hefty one, especially considering the salary cap increase set for 2026. Still, with the trade market hot and several teams rebuilding, a return to Miami is unlikely to include a first-round pick, which leaves the door open for Minnesota. The price of a champion, the most plausible proposal would involve sending an original third-round pick, higher than the third-round compensatory pick the Vikings are set to receive in 2026 for the departures of players like Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones. This is a significant investment, but it can be seen as a calculated bet. Worth remembering, Minnesota finished the 2024 regular season with an impressive 14-3 record. Even though they suffered a tough playoff loss to the Los Angeles Rams, their performance throughout the year showed a resilient, well-coached team with talent at several key positions. The only area that remains a concern is defending against the aerial game, exactly where Ramsay plays. A bet at the right time? It will all depend on one central piece: new quarterback J.J. McCarthy. Entering his second year in the NFL, the young QB will take on the responsibility of leading the team as the starter in 2025. If Adofo-Mensah and head coach Kevin O'Connell believe McCarthy is ready to lead the offense, then it makes sense to beef up the defense as much as possible and bring in a leader like Ramsay, who is a Super Bowl winner and knows the pressure of making big decisions. This would not be a simple hire. It would be a declaration of intent. A clear message to the locker room, to the fans, and to the rest of the NFL. The Vikings are betting big. They are betting that the time to win is now. Ramsay would not only bring experience and technical talent, but also a champion's mentality. In an increasingly young and ambitious squad, he can be the anchor that balances the defense, the mentor who guides the rookies, and the difference maker in decisive moments. The big question: are the Vikings ready? To critics, this switch may seem hasty. After all, McCarthy is still an unknown quantity, and the team didn't make it past the first round of the playoffs. But for those who look beyond the cold statistics, the view is different. The Vikings have a talented core, a balanced roster, and are perhaps one defensive star away from competing on equal terms with the best in the league. Jalen Ramsay may no longer be the fastest player in the NFL, but his intelligence, positioning, and instinct still place him among the best, and most importantly, he knows what it takes to get to the top. If Minnesota is ready to make that leap, this could be the play that goes down as the moment the Vikings decided to stop just competing and start winning. A fairy tale return? Vikings consider repatriating Adam Thielen in possible trade with Panthers. As the NFL offseason progresses, rumors and projections take over the scenes. And a possible move involving one of the Vikings' most beloved names is starting to gain traction. Veteran wide receiver and two-time Pro Bowler Adam Thielen could be coming home. Yes, the Minnesota Vikings are reportedly considering a trade with the Carolina Panthers to bring Thielen back to the team where he built his career and won the hearts of fans. A local legend with fuel in the tank at 34, Thielen is entering the final chapters of his NFL career, but anyone who thinks he has nothing more to offer is mistaken. In 2024, even on a rebuilding team like the Panthers, the veteran showed consistency. He had 48 receptions for 615 yards in just 10 games. The numbers may not be as eye-catching as they were in his prime, but they reveal a player who is still efficient, technical, and reliable, valuable qualities for any offense, especially one led by a young quarterback like J.J. McCarthy. The weight of history. More than an exchange, a return to origins. For many, Thielen's potential return to the Minnesota Vikings isn't just a football decision, it's a coming-of-age story. Born in Detroit Lakes, Minnesota, Thielen began his professional career with the Vikings, where he played for 9 seasons and became one of the franchise's most iconic figures in the modern era. With 8,642 career receiving yards and 64 touchdowns, his contribution was undeniable, and his bond with the fans even stronger. WSN's Marissa Myers captured that sentiment well when she wrote, "Thielen's return to Minnesota, where he began his career and whose hometown of Detroit Lakes, Minnesota, would be a full-circle moment for Thielen to end his NFL career. An exchange that makes sense for both sides, from a technical and strategic point of view. The move would make sense for both teams." The Carolina Panthers finished 2024 with a modest 5-12 record and remain in the process of rebuilding. With holes in virtually every area of the roster, it makes little sense to keep a veteran like Thielen while the team restructures. The opportunity to trade him for a future pick or a young talent could be just what the team needs to accelerate that process. On the Vikings side, the reality is completely different. The team is coming off an exceptional regular season, with an impressive 14-3 record, and has one of the most explosive wide receiver duos in the NFL in Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. However, the depth at the position can still be improved, and Thielen could be the ideal piece to fill the WR4 role, contributing not only on the field, but behind the scenes. Even after the selection of young Felton in the 3rd round of the 2025 draft, there is room for Thielen to play a strategic role, especially in red zone formations and 3rd down situations, where his experience and safety in his hands make a difference. What's more, his veteran presence in the locker room could be crucial to the maturation of J.J. McCarthy, the young quarterback who takes over the team in this new era. More than logic, emotion, and legacy, although the exchange has solid fundamentals. In technical and strategic terms, it is impossible to ignore the emotional side of this possible meeting. Thielen did not win a Super Bowl during his career. Returning to the team that launched him, on a roster with real title aspirations, could represent the last chance to realize that dream and give Vikings fans a Hollywood-worthy narrative. In a sport where business and emotion often collide, such a trade would be rare, the marriage of a symbolic gesture with an intelligent decision. Thielen would become a mentor, a luxury backup, and a quiet leader, and the Vikings, in turn, would bolster the roster with someone who already knows the culture, the system, and the locker room. An offseason that promises surprises as the days progress toward training camp. The Vikings continue to boldly reconfigure their pieces. After bolstering the offensive and defensive lines, and with J.J. McCarthy set to begin his journey as a starter, Minnesota appears willing to take risks, but do so wisely. And if there's one risk that carries more emotional reward than financial, it's the return of Adam Thielen. It wouldn't just be a technical reinforcement, it would be a symbolic moment for an entire franchise. A fitting farewell to one of the greatest stories in the modern NFL, and who knows, the final chapter in a tale that could yet end with confetti and trophies.